Today we'll be making gluten-free chocolate zucchini brownies. So whether or not you're wanting to find recipes to add in some extra vegetables, or if you're looking for gluten-free recipes to make maybe a dessert for family or friends that can't have gluten, you'll want to try this recipe. So starting out, we're going to use one zucchini, and this zucchini has already been washed, and I've trimmed the starting end of the zucchini. So I'm just going to use the large ends of a vegetable grater to start grating the zucchini. You could also use a food processor for this step. Okay, and now that we've got all of our zucchini grated, then just make sure that we've got all of it in our bowl. And I think it's easier when you grate right into the bowl. That way you have less cleanup. Okay, now we'll move on to the rest of our ingredients. And the next ingredient is 1 cup of almond flour. And again, we're using almond flour for this recipe so that it's gluten-free. You could, though, if you don't have almond flour, or it doesn't matter to you if the brownies are gluten-free, you could use regular all-purpose flour, and you would just use equal ingredients, so still 1 cup of flour. And the next is 2 eggs. And remember, when you add eggs to ingredients like this, always cook them or crack them into a bowl first before you add them into the bowl, just in case if you drop any shell, so you're not mixing it into with your other ingredients. Then we have 1/4 cup of sugar. And a lot of the traditional brownie recipes will use a lot more sugar, so this is a little bit less sugar than what we typically use for making brownies. And then we have 1/2 tablespoon of baking powder. And 2 tablespoons of melted butter. And then we'll have 1/4 cup of cocoa powder. And this is unsweetened cocoa powder. Okay, and then we'll just mix all of this in here really well. The last ingredient is our chocolate chips, but I'm gonna wait and add those at the end so that we'll just sprinkle those on the top. And if at this point, when you mix your brownies, if you notice that the mixture seems a little thicker or more dry than you're used to with brownies, don't worry about that, because zucchini have a lot of water. They hold a lot of water inside. So as the zucchini begins to cook with the brownies, it'll release that moisture or water into the brownie mixture. So if it looks dry right now, then that's not really anything to be concerned about at this point. But we're gonna go ahead and spread the batter into a prepared 9x9 baking sheet. And I've already sprayed this with cooking spray. So we'll just add that to the pan. Try to make sure that it's spread out evenly so that our brownies are even sizes. Now you could, if you wanted to add the chocolate chips to the brownie mixture, you could do it that way also. I've made it both ways, and it just seems that if you like a kind of a gooier, more chocolatey brownie, then go ahead and mix it inside the batter. But I think the appearance-wise, it'll look better if you add the chocolate chips to the top. So whichever way you prefer. But I'm just gonna sprinkle these around, try to get them evenly on top of the batter. And again, if you're wanting the recipe to be gluten-free, always check the ingredients to make sure that there isn't any gluten added. Most chocolate chips and baking powder are naturally gonna be gluten-free, but it's always good to check. Okay, and now these are ready to go into the oven, and we're gonna cook them at 350 degrees for 30 minutes. Okay, and now that it has been 30 minutes, our brownies are done, so we'll get those out of the oven, and we'll just leave them on a cooling rack to cool for at least 30 minutes. Okay, and now that our brownies have cooled, now we can begin cutting into them. Okay, and there we go. That is the gluten-free chocolate zucchini brownies. I hope you try them.
For this recipe and more like it, scan this QR code. We hope you enjoyed this video as part of our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. You can also find even more videos on the OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.